Larry,
Yes, I'm here. Are you waking me up? Okay, no, I'm looking through my file.
I have the application. I have the app.
Larry, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, is Lee in the room?
Yes, we went through all the correspondence, Larry.
You can just hold it while he's talking.
We went through all the correspondence, Larry, from
That the microphone reverberating in the,
Larry, they went through all of the correspondence.
Yeah, I heard.
okay, do you have anything more to add?
No, I don't. What I sent you today just addressed the question somebody had about foundations, access to the steeple. And I thought that the most recent floor plan, this was from Sunday, that showed that we were well back from East River Road. In fact, the steeple is 400 feet back. And then just for fun, what the architect is looking for the style of the building. Fairly ornate. And that's the little box in the lower left corner. That's the southwest corner. That would be the phase 1 structure. It has nothing to do with the height of the building, but it's more exciting. The shiny object in my hand.
All right, that describes the foundation.
So are you guys both on a speaker and a cell phone? I mean, the computer? If you mute your computer speaker, then this echo won't happen.
Okay, there's a board member.
Larry, they said they've looked at the foundation. Do you have anything more to add?
No.
I'd like to open it to the public.
That pile foundation would be for the steeple. The rest of the building is a standard foundation. The standard spread footers.
I'm getting thumbs up from the board.
All right. You got good thumbs.
Let's open the floor up to the public.
Pam or Shelley, did you read the, you're on mute. Did you read the notice of public hearing for this?
Okay, so he wants me to read the notice of public hearing. Where did it go? Right here. Just the first one? Application 2020-027Z by Larry Henniger, agent for the Sirvidia Temple, requesting an area variance for a steeple. The proposed height does not comply with 120-18 of the Rush Town Code. Property is located at 6980 East River Road and is zoned residential 30.
Does the public want to add anything?
Is there anyone in the is there anyone from the public in the room?
In the virtual Zoom room, John.
No, there's no one in the regular room. Okay.
Okay.
No.
Is there anyone in hyperspace?
Okay, well, there you go. That makes it easy. Can the board hear me when I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's only, I have a question, Pam or Shelley or Victoria. If your 3 microphones are all muted, those are the only 3 picking up anything in the room?
All of the microphones will
Yeah.
be picking things up.
Right, but nobody in the virtual room can hear anything if you're all
Right.
muted.
Thank you, Mr. Mancuso. We can't hear anything at all that the board is saying.
So someone's going to have to unmute themselves because the people that are zooming in need to be able to hear it. I would suggest whoever's the farthest away, perhaps, might make sense, but move a microphone far enough away from that microphone so it doesn't pick up a feedback.
John, can you hear that tapping?
You're the one the speaker
You might you might want to try having somebody's cell phone dial into the Zoom number and then put it on speaker and put it on the table, rather than trying to use a microphone into a microphone.
When you press the button, it mutes it. So when you're speaking and it's green, then you're being recorded.
Here, but the public's not hearing us through the Zoom. That's what John said.
Can you hear him now, John?
Right, because
I can hear it faintly, better than it was before. Just somebody who has a microphone in their computer while the Zoom meeting is going on needs to be off of mute, because somebody's got to pick a microphone up somewhere.
So you want us all
take
to,
the microphone.
That one?
Microphone right there.
hold our mics down and let me speak?
I'll turn your mic off.
We're getting.
John, can you hear me?
Hello, test, John? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Looks like Phil Donahue.
Violation of the, what's that?
Yeah.
Everybody touching it, we might as
Do you have
well
gloves, Pam?
test $12.
Thanks for your patience this evening, everyone.
You're welcome. Hear me now, John? Can you hear me now, John?
Yes, I can
I
hear
can
you. It's
hear you.
low, it's low, so you're gonna want to speak up a little.
I can hear fine.
Okay. Second application tonight is 2020-03D by Ann Stewart. Ann is looking at a pole barn setback from the street, as it is 110 feet under code. 120-18. There was a stop work order issued. The plans were approved with the setback to be 117 feet on the map. Permit was approved, builder started the work, and a stop work was issued on at least 50 feet from the center line. It is a pole barn. Is Mrs. Stewart here with us?
No.
All right.
Was she notified of the, I'm assuming she was notified of the hearing, right?
Pam says correct.
Did she provide any answer or indication she was or wasn't going to attend?
No, not to my knowledge.
Do we have a phone number?
Got phone number if you want to call, 985-317-9395.
And what did you say, Lynn? Ann?
And
Are you calling it?
Is that okay? What'd you say, Ann?
And
Hi, this message is for Ann. This is Victoria Mosetti, the Deputy Town Supervisor for the Town of Rush. We are having the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting right now, and we did not know if you were going to participate. The Zoom link is on the website, and if you wanted to call us back on my cell phone, 747-0870, we can try and connect you into the meeting. Thank you so much. Bye.
I left a message.
Does who know that?
John,
Yeah,
could you hear me?
yeah, you left a message. So at this point, she's not present, but the town clerk has indicated she was notified of the meeting. The board may proceed in her absence in terms of reviewing the application. I believe I was on mute. There was the issue with the audio, but I don't know if the notice of public hearing has been read yet, but you can open the public hearing if you wish to do so and proceed with reviewing the application. It's up to the board. If you want to, the only other alternative, if you want to wait for her presence, would be to either go back to the other applicant's project in the meantime, perhaps, or you can table this until the next meeting.
I think it's a waste of time to proceed with this.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, hang on, someone's calling me back. I don't know if it's her.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Victoria. Yep, the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting is happening right now. I think you received public notice for it. I didn't know if you wanted to participate over the phone or on Zoom.
Yes, over the phone is fine.
Okay, I'm going to hand my phone to the chairman, and hopefully you can hear us and the public can hear us, and we'll try and figure it out.
Okay.
So Shelley, you're gonna want to read the notice of public hearing and open the public hearing, and then we can start that application.
She's gonna read the public.
Application 2020-03Z by Ann Stewart, requesting a front setback variance for a proposed barn. The location does not comply with the 120-18 of the Rushtown Code. Property is located at 8015 West Henrietta Road and is zoned residential 30.
And my name is Lee Hetrick. I'm the chair of the zoning board. We have your application here. Could you, I guess, from what I understand is you were issued a building permit?
Yes, I was. When I came down and applied, I had brought all my paperwork, and I didn't have, at the time I applied, I would need a hearing. And Karen Levesey said no.
Well,
And I said, okay.
well, okay, you were gonna put the pole barn up in November,
Correct.
okay, and you came in and got a permit from the building inspector?
Correct.
Okay, so then work started in December. I'm reading from a letter or a thing that you had done here where it says in December, work was started on the pole barn. Doug came down, okay, because of a complaint, and then there was a stop work order. He measured from the center line, said it was only 50 feet, okay. He was going to look into it and get back to you. He did and told you to apply for a variance for a pole barn, okay. You went to the town, all right, there was some discussion about a variance. Somebody said, or whatever, you couldn't get one.
And Levesey did, said no, I could not apply for it, because I wouldn't get it.
Okay. The old supervisor called and told me to take the barn down.
Right, and I tried to explain to him, and he didn't want to hear it, and he said, just tear it down.
Okay. So then you called Jerry, and explained the whole problem to him, okay? He asked me to participate. He takes office, Patience takes office in January, and he can look into, and he told me that we could have to get the state involved because of a state road.
Correct.
Okay, and then you called Jerry in January and asked him about the barn. And he told me Doug needs to know what my decision was with the barn is. You called Doug and told him, I would like to keep the barn where it is because it would cost you $15,000 to move the barn, not including the repairs on the driveway and the cost to have trees cut down and make room for the barn.
Right.
Doug got with Jerry and they said to fill out a variance. If it was turned down, we then go to the state. So Jerry told you to fill one out. If it was turned down, then you'd have to go to the state. Because of how long it's been going on, I went to the state and I'm within the state limits and have no issues with it.
Right.
Okay, what happened with the stop work order?
I was never issued the paperwork.
Oh, so you were never actually issued a stop work order?
No, I wasn't. I figured he told me verbally, and I said, okay. And I waited and waited and waited, and I was never issued paperwork.
Okay.
And I did have an estimate done on the pole barn to move it, and total cost without the trees is $23,640.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I do not have that kind of money. I don't.
Okay.
You know, I'm being honest.
Right.
And I was so upset with Doug. I said, you know, I said to him, I said, you know, when you mentioned it, you know, I asked him, I said, how the heck did you not know where the pole barn was going? I said, didn't you look at the site before you came down, before you issued the permit? And then after he told me about, you know, how far it has to be, I came in and I looked at the map myself because I'm not too bright on this stuff. And I looked at the map I gave him. And even I, after I sat there and looked at it, I said that the house is 117 feet from the road. You have to know the turnaround isn't 117 feet.
Okay.
And he said to me, goes, you know, and he told me right out. You know, he's like, oh, I'll stand behind you and I'll help you through this. But then he turns around and he resigns, which is none of my business. And what I think where I'm upset right now is, we have people in the town that do this job, okay? And this was not no small project. And I think what upsets me is, you know, then of course I got flack because I'm supposed to fill out the variance before I just put up the pole barn. And I'm sitting there going, I asked you this. And to me, I mean, nothing against Pamela, don't get me wrong. You're a clerk. You should have took it a note, put it down on a piece of paper, and gave it to Doug. Because he was the building inspector. Instead of answering his questions. So then when I asked, you know, when I went down for the fill out variance, of course, you know, Pam was like, you should have done that before, and I'm like, okay. And then she said, you can apply for hardship. So I said, great. And then she goes, you won't get it because you have too much land. I said, yeah. So I walked away. And then Jerry told me come down and fill it out. Yeah, I am quite upset about this whole mess. And of course, I went to the state ahead of time. We have the paperwork in front of you.
Yeah.
And the state's like, they don't have an issue because they said he even put any kind of money into my property to build anything up. He said it would cost him too much. And so yeah, I'm upset about this whole thing.
No, I can understand.
I tried to be. I tried to be understanding that. I just, you know,
That's
I
all
don't
right.
have money. Huh?
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions from the board?
Yes, I do. Hi, Ann, this is Brad Berman. I actually met you at the site with David Class. That's the day, I think it was early March or end of February. So, yeah, we ended up, when we were there, we took the measurements and you were there to talk us through all the steps and everything that took place. So I thank you very much for that. So we have recorded all the information and the measurements we have on the house and such. The one question that I had for you is, so when you never received the actual written stop work order, did you just at one point in time then call back Santelli and just say, come back and close up the structure? Or what made you take that step to continue in the process in finishing the structure?
Well, what happened was, after the COVID, Santelli got up and running. And he called me, he was like, do you have a stop work order? I said, verbally. He said, you have no paperwork on a stop work order. I said, no, I don't. He's like, we can finish the pole barn. And I'm like, fine. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys. It took 30 years to save money for this pole barn. Money to redo my driveway, which is scheduled for August, and that's already money that I put down on it. Now, I've got Western New York calling me, wanting to get that scheduled. I can't do nothing with this mess out here. And I'm just like, you know, I know I can't afford to tear it down. I can't. There was just no way. And I'm like, I guess, you know, Dominic, no. Like I said, I don't mean disrespect to the town. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm a little upset that I was in this position, you know. And I don't blame you guys, because you cannot have a zoning board with the COVID. You know what I'm saying? So I understood why you had to cancel it. But, like I said, I've got money shelled out. Western New York's going, you know, I've got you scheduled for August, you know. I had already put one down on the last year. So, you know.
So Ann, can I ask you at this point in time? Yes, it's on. So Ann, just the question for you is what, again, we can see the outside of the structure that you have the steel placed on it. Is the interior of the structure complete too at this point in time as far as the floor, or is that when you're referring to Western New York, they're gonna put asphalt in the interior?
Western New York's gonna put cement in the interior.
They're gonna put cement in the interior, and that'll be done in August, you're figuring?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And then 2 days later, they repaved the whole drive. They're gonna repave the whole driveway.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Can the public hear Ann and everybody? Okay.
And, Ms. Stewart, are you actually the property owner?
Ann Stewart, yes, she's correct, yes. Yes.
Ann Stewart, is that Ann Stewart?
Are you Ann Stewart that we're talking to?
And she and her daughter.
Okay.
What was that? I couldn't hear it.
It's her daughter that we're on the phone with. Could we just have her daughter state her name?
She wound up in after December when this whole thing started. I'm not blaming anybody, but she's kicked into like Alzheimer's.
Okay, could you, for the record, could you state your full name, please?
Mine is Elizabeth Andy.
Okay, thank you.
Hang on one second. Elizabeth, what's your last name, Elizabeth?
It's Stastio, D-I, capital S-T-A-S-I-O.
DiStasio. Elizabeth DiStasio is the daughter of Ann Stewart.
And who has been speaking the entire time?
Elizabeth DiStasio has been speaking on the phone the entire time.
Is Ann Stewart available?
Is Ann Stewart available?
She is, but she won't understand. She won't understand anything.
Who signed the application?
She is suffering from Alzheimer's, so she will not be able to understand the conversation her daughter reported.
So can I ask a couple questions? The application was filled out by whom? Did Ann Stewart fill out the application and she's the owner of the property?
Ann Stewart is, yes.
Who filled out the application?
Who signed it?
For the permit, she did, because she was coherent.
At the time she filled it out, she was coherent, but at this point she's not capable of understanding the process?
Right.
Do you have a power of attorney for your mother?
Yes, I do. I do have that.
Does that allow you to make decisions with respect to her real property, including this type of application before the zoning board?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Would you be able to provide the town with a copy of that power of attorney so that this board has to just be able to verify that you are acting as an authorized agent of your mother? And if you have a power of attorney, you'd be able to act on her behalf, but we will need to see that if you do have a copy.
I do have a copy. I don't have the one that's notarized. That's with her attorney. That's locked up.
Do you know the name of her attorney? Do you know the name of her attorney?
Yes, I do.
I believe that
B-O-G-E-L.
I couldn't hear that. What was it?
Okay, it's B-O-G-E-L. Law Office PC, and he's in Danville.
Ogle, B-O-G-E-L,
Correct,
Law Office PC in Dansville.
correct.
Yeah.
I would make a request that you contact that office and have them email a copy of that signed power of attorney to you, or you can send it directly to the town clerk or the deputy town clerk. We need to be able to verify that the testimony that you're providing and the actions you're taking on behalf of your mother is authorized. Otherwise, we won't necessarily be able to process everything completely. So if you could ask them for that information tomorrow, that would be great.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll call him first thing in the morning. Get that done.
Thank you.
Like I said, I have a copy, but it's not, he has the original. So, but, and this one, it doesn't have, the notary on it, where he has that.
Anything else, John?
At this time, no. I'll thank you for letting me just ask those questions. I'll turn it back over to the board.
Chair Hedrick, I do believe when Ms. Stewart came in, I did tell her that going to the zoning board had little possibility only because 2 houses down, the same matter occurred. And that's why I told her that it was probably not a possibility. Just wanted to correct that for the record.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You have something, Rich? Yeah.
I would also like the town to have an opportunity to research the building inspector's files to ascertain whether or not a certified copy of that stop work order went out or did not.
Okay, Rich, hang on one second. I just want to make sure everyone heard that. Could everyone hear Rich Anderson? All right. John. All
Well, he needs to speak a little bit louder. It is hard to hear him.
right, so you got to speak a little louder.
This is Rich Anderson, one more time. I would like the town to have the opportunity to research the building inspector's file, just to ascertain whether or not a copy of that stop work order was mailed to that current address. So that's a thing I think we take upon ourselves.
Okay. No, I be honest with you, if I had it, I would have never done it.
I understand. We just have to make sure we're doing this completely legally.
Yeah, because like I said, I waited, I figured it would be here within a couple of days. And when I didn't get it, I'm just like, oh, okay.
Can we please
Yeah.
put the microphone down by the phone? We can't hear the applicant. Thank you.
They couldn't hear you when you said that you didn't receive anything, and if you would have received it, that you wouldn't have continued the work.
Definitely not, no. No,
Okay.
definitely not.
But someone did notify you at some point. I believe you had indicated that someone did tell you to stop work. That is correct, right?
Yeah, Doug told me. He told me, he came down, he said, I've got to shut you down. He said he didn't have an issue with where the pole barn was located, but his boss did. And I
Okay,
said, okay. But, you know, I mean, I ain't gonna lie to anybody. Yes, he did say, and that's when I figured, okay, I got the verbal. Within a few days, I'll get the paperwork. Because Centelli kept asking me what is on the paperwork, and I said I haven't received any paperwork yet. You know, because now she's in violation.
okay, thank you.
Because but she can't just if I have paperwork, and I didn't tell him. Now he's in violation.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything more that you'd like to add?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to add something?
Patrick, do we have to reread the public hearing notice? We read the application versus the public hearing notice. Would you like us to reread that?
Yes, if you would, please.
My apologies. The public, oh, I'm sorry. The public also needs your address.
Who's that?
The applicant.
And address.
She's gonna
And address.
She's gonna read the public notice, which has the address in it.
She's going to read the public notice that has the address in it, okay?
Notice is hereby given that pursuant to the provisions of the zoning ordinance of the town of Rush and 267 of the town law, a public hearing will be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals of the town of Rush at the Rush Town Hall, 5977 East Henrietta Road, Rush, New York, on March 12th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Oh, I'm so sorry. June 11th, 2020 at 7 p.m. to hear all persons interested in the following. Application 2020-3Z by Ann Stewart requesting a front setback variance for a proposed barn. The location does not comply with 120-18 of the Rush Town Code. Property is located at 8015 West Henrietta Road and is zoned residential 30.
Can I ask a question? Was that March date, the date that was in the thing you were just reading? Was that the version that was advertised?
Yes.
Was there another one advertised for today?
There should have been one.
There should have been one. I'm believing that it probably was done by Siobhan Featherman before she left. I don't have that.
Could you hear that, John?
It was probably done by Siobhan, but she doesn't have it in front of her. Well, I don't want to speak for the board. If the board wants to continue its discussion on the application, I'll turn it back over to you, Lee, and the board. And then once you're finished, then we can talk about the process.
I think there's a lot more information here that needs to be gathered. You know, we're getting one version, another version. She's finished it. She says she doesn't have a stop work order. Was there one sent? It's just verbally. You know, it is a 63% variance that she's looking for. So I'm thinking that we ought to table it until we get some more information.
Is it germane to the variance, though?
Yes, it would be relevant to the fifth factor of self-created hardship. This information that relates to issues of the stop work order, her being notified that there was an issue with the zoning, potentially proceeding and completing that, having been notified of the violation. So it would be germane to the board's deliberations of the nature of the self-created hardship and how that is weighted with the rest of the criteria.
Thanks, John.
So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing.
I would actually, Lee, if I could, are you going to, before you do anything in terms of closing it and polling the board, can I ask, you had indicated that you wanted to table it pending further investigation. I wanted to just confirm that the other members wish to do the same.
Yeah, I can take a poll and see. If
I just
they
want to,
vote.
if that's the case, then I'm gonna recommend to just keep the public hearing open, given the issue with the public notice. It's gonna be adjourned anyway, so you'll want to keep the hearing open.
Okay.
I agree that we should do the research.
I got every nod here saying yes.
Okay, so everyone's saying yes. So if the board wants to do further investigation on the issues, I would suggest to keep the public hearing open, table the matter to the next meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We'll confirm and make sure that the public hearing notices are then republished for the July meeting. You can resume the public hearing in July and then resume your deliberations and discuss the investigation that you will undertake between now and then.
Okay, so we'll just adjourn this public hearing until July, what's the date for the July meeting?
Look at it. July date would be July 9th.
All right, so we'll adjourn this public hearing until the July 9th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Herman?
Aye.
Mr. Frew?
Aye.
Mr. Glass?
Aye.
Mr. Hetrick?
Aye. Elizabeth, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to adjourn it until the July meeting and do some investigating on some of the information that we've received from you tonight.
Okay.
All right, and there'll be a public notice going out, and you'll probably get a letter notifying you of the time and date.
Okay, and I'll get that, power of attorney over to you.
Yeah, either get town clerk tomorrow or whatever. If you can get him, have him email it to the town clerk here at Town of Rush.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And you have a good, you have any more other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you, and you have a good night.
You too, bye-bye.
All right, now we're back to application 2020-02Z.
So if I can take a step back on that, given the notice of public hearing that we had heard for the other applicant, I just want to confirm that I think we'll need to reread the notice, and I want to confirm also that the date was actually noticed properly for this applicant as well.
I don't see that it has the verbiage for the Zoom meeting in it.
Was that you, Pam? I didn't quite catch it.
Yes, I don't see that on the town website.
Okay.
The verbiage of the meeting, let me see. No, that's it. I don't see the verbiage that should be included.
So if the public, and this applicant, I don't believe has ever been through a public hearing before this board. I think it was scheduled for March and that was canceled because of the COVID pandemic. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Chairman? Okay.
Yes.
If the public hearing was not noticed, then the board cannot act on the variance application itself. It can act on the seeker component of that application because that does not require a public hearing as a predicate. I will have to, if the board wants to proceed in that fashion, I will have to alter the resolution that was in draft form for the board tonight because that was a combined resolution that dealt with both the seeker and the area variance approval. So I will open it up to the board in terms of discussing procedurally how it wants to proceed. If the clerk if the clerk has indicated there's no public hearing notice published, then the board can't proceed tonight.
The notice is incorrect.
The notice is correct or incorrect?
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
Yes, it should have more verbiage on it because of the Zoom and the COVID information.
Let's proceed with the short form.
We can proceed with the short form and seeker, right?
You can. You do not need a public hearing to complete the seeker process.
Okay.
I can, if the board would like to, the board has a resolution in front of it that was a combined resolution. So if you want to walk through the seeker process, what I can do is I can walk through that resolution with you, and we can strike out the components that we can't utilize and just adopt a resolution under seeker for the negative declaration, if that's how the board would like to proceed.
Yeah, we'd like to proceed that way.
Okay, so let's start with the part 2 of the short environmental assessment form that the board had been provided.
Part 3?
There should be a combined part 2 and part 3. It was 2 pages.
I have 3 pages, John, so. Yeah.
So we had prepared for the board a draft of the part 2. That's the question. There are 11 questions on that document that evaluate the magnitude of the impact of the approval. We, based on our review, had indicated no or small impact on the 11 questions. Those are simply our proposed answers. The board has a discretion to review all of them and should independently to decide whether or not they agree with those answers or whether they wish to change any of them. So I'll start with the part 2 and then open up to the board to discuss whether it agrees with the conclusions on the magnitude for those questions.
Should I read this into the record, John, and then act on it, or just?
Well, we can start. We'll read the you have the resolution in front of you?
No, I just have the short form application.
Okay, fair enough. If you want to walk through the questions and then confirm them, that'd be great for the record.
And that's what I'll do beginning now.
Perfect.
This is zoning board application 2020-02 Z as in Zulu. The zoning board of appeals of the town of Rush, the zoning board, received application 2020-02 Zulu for an area variance submitted by Larry Henninger, agent for the Sri Vidya Temple, the applicant, requesting variance from a maximum height requirement of structures 35 feet as set forth in the zoning law of the town of Rush, the zoning law, for proposed construction of the new temple building and associated steeple at a certain height, the proposed action, and property located at 6970/6980 East River Road, Rush, New York. The property.
Rich, before you continue, that's the resolution you're reading from, correct?
It just, yeah, it says the short form EAF part 3. It details all 11 questions. If you'd rather wait and do this.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to see, because can you show me the document you're looking at, just because I can't see it from where you just flash it in front of me. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's Exhibit A. That's the part 3. Yep. The part 2 should be let me screen share you can see the computer, right? So I can screen share this.
Right.
Victoria, can you enable me?
I'm coming.
Thank you. Sorry for the mix up, Rich. I know what you're looking at.
Let him in.
You got it?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
So then he's gonna share his screen and you'll be able to see it.
Can you see that, Rich? And the members of the board?
Yes, I do. I think we've seen that before.
Yes, this is part 2. I just want to confirm before you proceed to part 3 that all those questions are to your satisfaction. You don't have any changes in terms of just the magnitude of each of the 11 impacts that are identified. And I can walk through them one by one if that's just easier, given that we're part virtual and part in person.
I could, John, just circulate this to all the board members because they've all been answered in a negative fashion.
Correct. And so if the board has no changes, we can, and they're in agreement with the 11 questions on the part 2, we can then go back to the part 3 that you had referenced.
All right, I'll pass this around the table.
John, can I ask a question?
You may, yes.
I don't know if I need the microphone.
Probably do.
So just in reviewing these questions, you know, they're asking you, like say for instance, number 2, will the proposed action result in a change in the use or density of use of the land? Are they talking based on what the original design plan was for the temple compared to what the new plan was? Or are we talking where it sits today compared to the new proposed?
They are asking the latter. So what it is today and what it is to become should the applications be approved.
Okay, thank you.
Any issues, gentlemen? Everybody approve it? Good. All right, John, I'll go back to Exhibit A, short form EAF Part 3.
Yep. Rather than read it out, well, you can read it out loud if you wish to. This document, just so I could explain for the board, what this document represents is an evaluation of the 11 criteria that are identified on the part 2. So we went question by question and sort of provided an explanation and analysis of each impact and the conclusion that the proposed action would not have a significant adverse environmental impact on those resources. This document is the elaboration, the reasoned elaboration for this board to adopt a negative declaration in the part 3 of the short environmental assessment form. And so like the part 2, these are our analysis as counsel for the zoning board. If you have any questions or comments, revisions with respect to this document, certainly the board may make any changes it feels is necessary to reflect your decision making. And so
perhaps I should circulate this one too, John?
Yes, you may. If the board hasn't yet had an opportunity to review it, then certainly you can do that as well. I can read it if the board would prefer to do that for the record and just to follow along. I'm happy to do so.
Be faster.
Read it. Yeah.
Read it.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think the first paragraph had all been read. I'm going to pick up where Rich left off. The zoning board finds that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse impact on the environment for the following reasons. Category number 1, the proposed action is consistent with adopted land use plans and community character. The primary goal of the Town Comprehensive Plan 2010, the Town Comprehensive Plan, is to protect important aspects of the town's existing rural and open character. The comprehensive plan recognizes that to undertake comprehensive planning, the town should identify the desirable characteristics, potential opportunities, and the significant problems or constraints that exist, reevaluate the potential consequences of these actions, and develop a new plan that presents a vision of the community's goals and preferences and a program and actions to achieve the vision. The town is predominantly residential and agricultural in nature, with most of the residential development constructed in the northern half of the town. The goals identified in the Town Comprehensive Plan include, among others, conserving agricultural resources and viable farming areas and providing industrial and commercial land use opportunities that are consistent with the residential and agricultural character of the town. The proposed action is not in conflict with the stated goals and recommendations of the Town Comprehensive Plan. One of the goals of the plan is to provide commercial land use opportunities that are consistent with the residential and agricultural character of the town. Although the religious use on the property is not commercial, it is analogous to a commercial use as opposed to a residential or rural use. The property has been used for a temple for at least 20 years in harmony with the neighboring residential property owners at its existing height. The height of the proposed temple building will not impact the neighboring residential properties because mature trees on the property will provide adequate screening as demonstrated by the balloon test conducted by the applicant. The temple building will also be set back from the road by over 300 feet. Further, although portions of the temple building require a variance, the tallest portion of the structure, the steeple, is in compliance with the zoning law. Zoning Code Section 120-5 defines height as the elevation above grade level and defines height maximum as the elevation of the highest point of the structure above grade level, excluding such structures as flagpoles, church steeples, chimneys, or other non-combustible objects. Because the definition of maximum height specifically excludes church steeples, that portion of the proposed action does not require a variance from the height requirements contained in the zoning law. Other churches located elsewhere in the town also have comparable ridge heights and steeple heights, such as St. Joseph's Church at 1209 West Rush Road. Category 2, the change in use or intensity of use of land. The proposed action will not have a significant and adverse environmental impact on land or change the use of the land. The portion of the proposed action consisting of an area variance for height under the jurisdiction of the zoning board does not result in the construction on or physical alteration of land, such as grading, clearing, filling, excavation, or construction activities. No other action is to be taken by the zoning board concerning the construction or approval of the temple building. The existing buildings on the property have been used as a temple for at least 20 years, and although the height of the proposed temple building will be taller than the existing buildings on the property, the use will not change. The proposed action requires site plan approval from the planning board to authorize development of the temple building, at which point it is anticipated that the planning board will also evaluate the impacts, if any, on land. Character or quality of the existing community. The proposed action will not impair the character or quality of the existing community. The temple building will be constructed in a residential area on property that has been used for temple purposes for at least 20 years, and such use is permitted by special permit, which is tantamount to a legislative finding that the proposed use is in harmony with the surrounding community. The temple building will be set back approximately 385 feet from East River Road, and there's an existing cell tower located near the property with a height of approximately 150 feet. Additionally, other churches located elsewhere in the town have comparable ridge heights and steeple heights, such as St. Joseph Church at 1209 West Rush Road. Therefore, the proposed action will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or quality of the existing community. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on noise, odor, or light. To mitigate potential impacts from mounted lighting to neighboring properties, all mounted lights shall comply with the requirements set forth in Article 4 of the zoning law, including but not limited to the height requirements for mounted luminaries and lighting fixtures will be oriented and shielded to prevent any light spill onto neighboring properties. To the extent future development of the temple building occurs as part of the proposed action, potential impacts on noise, odor, and light will also be evaluated by the planning board as part of the site plan approval process, including without limitation, existing ambient conditions and potential noise and light impacts on the surrounding residential property. Category 4, critical environmental areas. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on a CEA or environmental characteristics that cause establishment of a CEA because the property is not located in or near a CEA. Number 5, existing levels of traffic or existing transportation infrastructure. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on transportation. As discussed, the portion of the proposed action under the jurisdiction of the zoning board consists of a request for a height variance for the temple building and thus will not result in a significant adverse impact on traffic or transportation systems, including without limitation pedestrian and vehicular traffic, parking, or traffic congestion. Traffic concerns associated with the proposed action will also be evaluated by the planning board as part of the site plan approval process. Use of energy. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on energy. The height variance for the temple building will not increase the use of any form of energy or increase energy demand. The creation or extension of an energy transmission or supply system is not required as part of the proposed action. The impacts, if any, on the use of energy will also be evaluated by the planning board as part of its secret review associated with the site plan approval process. 7, existing water supplies and water treatment utilities. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse impact on surface water or groundwater. Whether to grant or deny a height variance for the temple building will not involve increasing or decreasing the size of a water body, creating new water bodies, or grading, clearing, filling, or excavating within or adjoining a water body. Similarly, a height variance will not cause erosion, withdraw water, discharge wastes into the water body, or degrade water quality. During the planning board secret review as part of the site plan approval process, stormwater runoff will also be addressed, including the potential impact, if any, of stormwater runoff volume and surface groundwater quality and quantity that may occur due to the proposed action. To the extent required, it's anticipated that the applicant will obtain coverage under the Speedy's general permit and prepare a SWIP pursuant to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation regulations that implement construction and post-construction practices necessary to address potential stormwater runoff. The proposed action will not create a new or additional demand for water, and no potable water source will be added or impacted by the proposed action. The majority of the residents of the town of Rush rely on wells as a water source, and potential impacts on groundwater, including potential impacts, if any, on wells and water sources in proximity to any proposed project, will also be evaluated as part of the planning board site plan review of the proposed action. 8, historical, archaeological, architectural, and or aesthetic resources. Proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on historic and archaeological resources. Because the proposed action is limited to request for the height variance, there'll be no disturbance of an archaeological resource. Pursuant to the EAF mapper, no historic or archaeological resources are present on the property. The proposed action will also not have a significant adverse environmental impact on aesthetic resources. The proposed action will be significantly set back from East River Road, and as demonstrated by the balloon test conducted by the applicant, mature trees on the property will provide adequate screening. The property does not otherwise contain a designated significant natural community and is not otherwise part of or substantially contiguous to a net registered natural landmark. 9, natural resources. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on plants and animals. There will be no change of use with respect to the proposed action. The granting of the variance will result in no impact to threatened or endangered species or their habitats. Additionally, the temple building will be constructed in a portion of the property that does not contain mature trees. Potential impact on plants and animals, including without limitation, endangered and threatened species and habitats, if any, will also be evaluated by the planning board as part of the site plan review process. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on air. There will be no change in air quality upon the approval of the area variance. 10, erosion, flooding, or drainage. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on flooding. The portion of the proposed action consisting of an area variance for height will not result in disturbance or construction within the 100-year or 500-year floodway. The zoning board notes that response to question number 16 regarding whether the property is located in a 100-year floodplain, the question should have been answered in the affirmative. Insofar as the jurisdiction of the zoning board is limited to a request for variance for the maximum height requirements contained in the zoning law, the zoning board anticipates that the planning board, as an agency with jurisdiction over approval of a site plan for the proposed action, will also review potential impacts, if any, of the proposed action on erosion, flooding, and drainage. 11, hazard to environmental resources or human health. The proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact on human health. According to the New York State Department of Conservation and Environmental Site Remediation Database and Spill Database, the property is not a brownfield site and there are no nearby brownfield sites or sites contaminated with hazardous materials. The proposed action will not otherwise disturb any solid or hazardous waste. With regards to safety, the temple building is required to be constructed in compliance with the town code and applicable building and fire prevention codes as required. So that is those are the findings supporting a negative declaration. I will pause for a second. If the board has any questions, comments, or potential revisions, I will open it up to the floor. And the applicant, if they heard anything that was incorrect.
The only thing that I'd like to add was on the floodplain, my interpretation was that the 100-year flood elevation of Railroad Creek is probably 20 feet below the elevation of our proposed site. So I read site where we're going to put the building, not the entire property, but that's just a matter of interpretation. So I next time I'll explain it.
And I would anticipate that there'll be a similar evaluation of that issue by the planning board, which will be obviously the jurisdiction to do the site elements and layout. And so that point of clarification, thank you for making that for the record. It can be addressed as part of the future approval process, and they can take that into account. The flagging of the question was done because of the auto population. When you use the mapper tool, it's going to look at the area that's encompassing the project area and provide some buffering most of the time to be over-inclusive of things. And so that's why it was flagged. But certainly because it's flagged and maybe in proximity or in a 100-year floodplain does not mean that upon further investigation, that answer may prove to be clarified. And it appears the applicant has done that.
John, do we need to do a resolution to approve this part of it?
You will, and I've redrafted the draft that I had sent to the board to take out all of the area variance components and just do a simple seeker resolution. And what I can do, because I did have to do some editing, I can screen share this so the board can see what I've edited from the version I sent out earlier this week, if that would be helpful. So if you bear with me 1 second. Can you see this document?
A couple of us can, yes.
So this is the document I sent you earlier this week. I've redline deleted the stuff that we're gonna skip. So if you want to, you can read, I guess, from my computer, and I can scroll slowly, and we can kind of walk through the resolution. It's going to be substantially shorter now that the findings for the variance are not going to be made tonight.
Let me make sure I can read first.
You want me to, I can zoom in if you'd like.
A little bit more.
Bear with me and go. How's
Good.
that?
That's good.
All right, there you go. Oh, hold on one second. Bear with me. I just want to make one change to the title of this. Okay.
Now, you want me to read everything in black, correct?
Everything in black, anything that's not struck out in red, you can read.
Okay. Ready to begin. Resolution for the Town of Rush Zoning Board of Appeals on application 2020-02Z for a negative declaration. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Town of Rush, the Zoning Board received application 2020-02Z for the area variance. The application submitted by Larry Henniger, agent for the Sri Vita Temple. The applicant requesting the variance from the minimum height of 35 feet as set forth in the zoning law of the Town of Rush, the zoning law. Proposed construction of a new temple building as the temple building, an associated steeple of certain heights at property located 6970/6980 East River Road, Rush, New York, the property. Whereas Part 1 of the short environmental assessment form, short EAF, has been prepared by the applicant in compliance with Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law and 6 NYCRR Part 617, collectively referred to as secret. Now therefore, upon consideration by the Zoning Board of Appeals and other materials submitted by the applicant and the Zoning Board having given the submitted documentation due consideration, be it resolved that the Zoning Board classifies application as the unlisted action subject to uncoordinated review under 6 NYCRR section 617.6, and be it further resolved that upon examination and study of the short EAF and the plans and maps submitted with the application, and for more fully set forth in Exhibit A attached to Part 2 and 3 of the short EAF, the Zoning Board determines that the proposed action as defined in the negative declaration will not present a potential significant adverse environmental impact and thus issues a negative declaration.
Don't, yep, end there. And then you'll pick back up right after the 3.
Okay. Resolved that the chairperson is authorized to execute Part 3 of the short EAF, and resolved that notice of the resolution shall be filed and circulated to the extent required by any applicable provision of the town code of the Town of Rush and any relevant statute or regulation. The adoption of the foregoing resolution was moved by Lee Hetrick and seconded by
Brad Herman.
Brad Herman.
Pull the board. Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Herman,
Aye.
Mr. Frew,
Aye.
Mr. Flass,
Aye.
Mr. Hetrick,
Aye.
So the motion carried. The negative declaration for the zoning board has been adopted tonight. And so at the next meeting, you will be able to open a public hearing and make a determination on the variance.
Would we also need to sign this individually, John?
Just the chair, the resolution will just be complete. I'll adopt the changes and give a clean version for the clerk to confirm the votes as taken tonight. The chairperson will just have to sign the part 3 of the environmental assessment form, and that will be it.
Thank you.
Okay. So the meeting is July 9th. Next meeting, July 9th.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, confirmed.
And we'll make, Siobhan will make sure that's advertised.
Right.
And this is obviously been a very stressful 3 or 4 months for everybody. So.
Yes.
I personally thought that once this was advertised and the meetings were canceled, that it just got kicked along, but I'm not a lawyer, I'm an engineer. So, and on the question of the floodplain, actually what I did is I pulled up the FEMA maps. So that's why I just said that the site, which is elevation 625, is nowhere as close to the flood elevation of Railroad Creek using the FEMA maps, but that's diving deeper than, the DEC autofill.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, I'm done.
Well, thank you. We appreciate your patience and have a good night and be safe.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Actually, this was quite enjoyable. I've gone to a lot of meetings in my life. This is the first one by Zoom.
Well, join the club.
I mean, not the first town meeting by Zoom. I'm having Zoom every Sunday with the Sri Vidya Temple Committee. So, do you think by July we'll be on Zoom or in person? Doesn't matter to me.
The answer is I don't know. The governor's executive order expires earlier in July in terms of allowing virtual meetings. We don't know yet whether they'll extend it. I suspect I'm suspecting, given the nature of congregations in terms of public meetings, that there might be another extension, but for now, it's in public until otherwise extended by the governor. So to be determined.
Either way is fine.
Yep, we understand that.
All right, thank
I have
you.
loads of masks.
Anybody else have any more questions for anything?
Okay, I'm gonna leave you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you, KK.
Yeah, take care,
Thanks.
Larry.
Thank you.
Well, with that being 8:30, I want to close the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting closed.
Thank everybody for their patience.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in July.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Victoria, thank you for manning the fort tonight.
Of course. All right.
So then I'll give my